Addie Soldiers. I'm doing my September wrap-up and I want to wear a sweater so badly, but it's still 27 degrees outside for some ungodly reason. But that's not gonna stop me. It's pumpkin season, baby! No! Oh, God, no! Oh, I was doing this for a bit. Oh, don't do this. Oh, I got my lip gloss all in it. So, welcome to October. I read 7 books in the month of September and thought today would be a great day to talk about them because I have some spicy thoughts and flamin' hot opinions to serve up to you fresh and ready. Looking over this list, I realized that I read some weird stuff in September. Like, I read a lot of stuff about smut, and I read a lot of stuff about death. If that's not the perfect fall reading list, I don't know what is. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Without further ado, grab a drink, grab a snack, and buckle in while we talk about all the things that I read in September. I need to go on a little bit of a rant if you'll indulge me. I have a concern I need to bring to the book community, and that is that our love interests in books are getting too damn tall. All these guys out here are like 6'6", 7 feet tall, and I'm like, that's too much. Like, take some of it back. I am 5'8". Like, I am tall for a girl, and I'm taller than the majority of female love interests. I've had a 6'4" boyfriend, and even that 5'8" to 6'4" height difference, that is too much. Like, are all these tiny 5'2" girlies, like, using step stools to kiss these guys? What the hell is happening? But Rachel, our traditional ideas of masculinity is that people are tall and powerful and strong. Alright, fine. If you want to talk about patriarchal standards and, like, gender roles in that way, fine. But can I just get, like, a 5'10" king? Like, where are all they? And I know a lot of these guys are supernatural, but like, I used to model. I have been around very tall people for a very long time, and after a certain height, it's just very inconvenient for them and everyone around them. I bring this up because the book that I want to rave about first is one of my least favorite books I have read this year, and the love interest is 6'4". That is Levi from Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. I enjoyed The Love Hypothesis enough that I was like, alright, I'll give this a try. Ali, girly, bestie, what is this? In theory, it's cute. Our main character is Bee, and she's a neuroscientist who's taken on a project with NASA, developing astronaut helmets, and then her co-worker for the project is this guy that she went to university with who never seemed to like her, and then, you know, conflict stuff. But the problem with Levi, not only is he like 1.5 feet taller than our main character, is that he's kind of a little too rude for me to eventually fall in love with him. And like, in the nicest way possible, Levi, get a life. Also, yes, hello, is this Infodump City? Yes, your mayor is out of control, I need you to come pick her up. B. Koningswasser is one of the most insufferable people that I have ever read. She's not like other girls. She has colored hair and she names her toes and like faints at stuffed spiders and only swears in desserts and like wears polka dots all the time. She's like so quirky and I can't handle it. I need you to take that dial that you were writing with Ali Hazelwood. I need you to crank that back like 10 notches. She has the internal monologue of a 14-year-old on Tumblr circa 2009 who just found like aesthetic blogs. Oh my god, I hated her so much. I swear to god this book was a Mad Lib. Like, none of the characters make sense, and what in the Wattpad was that ending? I rage read this book. Like, did I finish it? Yes. Did I like it? No, I hated this book. I'm taking it back to the store. Okay, didn't mean to get that heated so fast. I think next book we're going to talk about is one that I really, really enjoyed so that I can sweat in a different way. It's so I can sweat with enthusiasm instead of hatred. I got sent this next book by HTC Frenzy and I'm so glad that I did because I got a copy of A Merry Little Meet Cute by Julie Murphy and Sierra Simone. And if you know, you know. This is also special because this is my very first Christmas romance and like virginity is a construct, but I think this counts for something. This is about Bianca, an adult film star who through a series of events gets herself the lead role in this squeaky clean Christian Christmas movie, and her co-lead is this bad boy rock star who's trying to clean up his image, but he has followed her online for years and years and she doesn't know that about him. So Bee is trying to keep her sex worker identity from the movie set hidden, while Nolan is also trying to do his best on set while dealing with an ailing family member. But as the movie continues, the two of them become involved and have to keep it a secret from everybody on set in hopes that neither of them get fired. Now, this book is way spicier than I ever could have imagined. Sierra Simone, I see you. I see you. I raise a candle to you. Thank you very much, ma'am. And I'm gonna say this to you right now. If you want to read this book, do not read it in public. You're not allowed to be in a space where other people can perceive you while you have this book. It's imaginative and creative and so fun. It has a really good commentary and insight into the sex work industry as well. I live in Vancouver, which is Hollywood North, so I am very familiar with them shooting these Hallmark Christmas movies all year round in my city. Like, are you really a Vancouverite if you haven't accidentally been in the background of some Christmas movie? I don't think so. Theater kids, Christmas lovers, and bisexuals rejoice. I thought this book was so fun, and I'm really happy that I read it. Another book that I'm very happy to have read was Ledge by TikTok icon Stacey McEwen. I was sent an advance copy of this by Angry Robot Books, and I actually got to interview Stacey for the release of this, so I will leave that in the cards. You can go check that out. Stacey, aka Stace Bookspace on TikTok, has written a beautiful hardcore winter fantasy novel that I really love. She is meant to write high fantasy. Our main character Dawson is part of a community on a icy mountain ledge that is isolated from the rest of the world, that is guarded by these humanoid monsters called glacians, and every season they will come down and they will take some people from the village, and they're never seen again. We don't know what happens with them. When she is taken off the mountain, she finds herself in the middle of a Glacian political rebellion. So she teams up with a half Glacian named Riot as the two of them escape and then start to bring together the rebel forces of the rest of the kingdom. This book is the blueprint for forced proximity. In this corner, we have Dawson, beg for me, Sabrin, versus this corner, we have Ryan, Glacial Hands Mesrick. This is also one of the best enemies to lovers relationships I have ever seen. The two of them, by the end of it, realize that they, are attached to one another, but ultimately they have their own paths, and they're there to support that person, but they are not going to stand in the way of that person making their own decisions. Dawson is, no joke, one of the most capable fighters I have ever read. She has an axe, and she is just slinging that thing around. You can hear more about it in the interview, but when we did that interview, I hadn't finished this book yet. And now I have. And I just want to say, Stacey, what the hell was that ending? I'm upset. I'm outraged. I'm out of sorts. What an amazing cliffhanger. Okay, I think we all need a little bit of a break. I just had a lot of big emotions there on camera. Let me now talk about a book that I truly loved, but in a much quieter way. And that was, I read The Roughest Draft by Emily Wibberley and Austin Siegmund Broca. This is about two writers, Katrina and Nathan, who at one point had written a best-selling worldwide phenomena of a book. They had a falling out and they haven't written since. But now that their publisher is calling on them again to write a new book, the two of them have to get together at a writing retreat and face what happened all those years ago. I love meta fiction. So like in the fantasy world, I've probably mentioned a million times that I love sentient libraries or I love magical librarians, but that does transfer to regular fiction too. I love books about writers, and this book did it right. Right. Not my best. This is so easy and engrossing to read that I read 100 pages before I even realized it. And as a reader and as a writer, it was so great to get inside the head of a writer. Being able to see what makes their process was so intimate and at the same time very intense. This is the most perfect description of feelings on a page that I have ever read. And while this is a romance novel, there's also a lot in here about grief and relationships and mourning for the person that you thought somebody was. So the tension of this book is top shelf. It just simmers low and hot for the entire book. Though I'm sure you could enjoy this no matter what type of employment that you're currently in, I do think writers will connect with this book a little bit more. So this next book I finished a couple of days ago, and I still, on pain of death, could not tell you what this book was about, which I feel like is a running theme throughout Thames and Muir's works, because I read Nona the Ninth and I loved it. But I could not describe this to you for the life of me. Nona the Ninth is the third in the Loch Tomb series, started by Gideon the Ninth, and this book is very different than the other two of the series. To better understand my mental state when I was reading this book, I'm going to share with you a photo. So when I read things, I take notes in my notes app so that, when I do these videos, I can remember my talking points. And these are the notes that I took when I was reading Nona. And you know what? I think this describes this book rather well. I was talking about this with a friend who finished Nona around the same time I did, is that, I don't really like Gideon or Harrow. Like, I don't really like them as people, but I like their stories and I like their world. So even though their world is really confusing, maybe at a detriment to the reader, I really like watching them interact with their world. Gideon and Harrow's books are very plot-based, they're very world-based, whereas Nona is more character-based. And like, Nona is hilarious, and I love the family dynamics, and we get to see some characters that we haven't seen for a book or two. There's also a ton of backstory in this. The way that she paces it throughout the novel, I think is okay, but it actually goes into how Nona's world became a thing, and like how necromancy in space happened, and how God appeared at first. Also, a huge thank you to Caro at Tor for sending me a beautiful finished copy and some goodies. So if you want to go see that unboxing, it's on my TikTok. I was debating keeping this book for last, but I think lastly, I want to talk about the book that gave me the most joy this month, that I enjoyed the most, that is a 5-star read. So before we do that, we have to talk about a book that I gave no rating. I read it on Goodreads and I gave it no rating because it's so out of my league that I have no idea what to do with myself after reading it. I read Court of the Vampire Queen by Katie Robert, and objectively, this is my least favorite Katie Robert book I've ever read. In theory, it's a cool urban fantasy vampire novel about a half-vampire girl who is given to this vampire king as like a blood slave, but then his friends are really hot and we're all gonna get together into this poly relationship, and then we're gonna go take down her father because her father's like a bad vampire guy. Okay, sure, sounds good. This book is pure smut for 200 pages. I think it's about page 196 that the plot raises its head from its lust-fueled haze and goes, oh shit, we needed a plot line. Fuck, throw something out there, it's fine. These vampires do have elemental powers, which is like, kind of works because they're based more on a traditional European vampire, and those vampires had the ability to like control fire and the weather, but in this case, it just felt like she was making stuff up as she went along, and honestly, I hated all the love interests. Malachi was supposed to be this like uber cruel, like vampire lord, but he just acts like a spoiled private school kid. Wolf is a blonde bad boy who should be called Doggy after we meet him in a variety of compromising situations, and Rylan is tall and thick, and that's all I know about him. Our main character is incapable of sticking to a decision, and it's so frustrating to read. And I did DNF this halfway through, because if you have a breeding kink, oh boy, this is for you. But that's a big old no thank you from me and my corner of the internet, so I'm just gonna leave. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff about pregnancy and trying to get pregnant and sexy times to get pregnant, like a lot. So if that's your thing, I am not here to kink shame, but this book is not for me. But since I can realize that I am not the demographic this is for, I don't think I have an opinion on whether it's good or bad. It's just something that I am going to take back to the store. Oh god, I really did not plan this very well, because this last book is unlike anything else in this stack. It makes you feel really weird doing it after like a breeding kink vampire smut book. But let's talk about the book that I gave 5 stars to, that I enjoyed myself the most reading this month, and that is the incredibly shiny, very funny, and heart-poundingly page-flipping book that was The Sunbury Trials by Aiden Thomas. It's so shiny! A couple months ago, I got to see Aiden Thomas speak at this virtual panel that I went to, and can I just say, they're so nice and like so fun and cool, and they're really, we chatted like on Instagram later, hearing them talk about their process of like how they made a pantheon and how the Mayan gods influenced the way that they wrote about things. It's like so cool. He put a fuck in there on the first line, and I respect that. This is Percy Jackson meets Hunger Games, but with Mayan gods, and if anything, I know that the Mayan pantheon is like #1 do not fuck with territory. Quetzalcoatl is my favorite Tezcatlipoca, so it's very fun to see the son of Quetzal in this. It's hilarious. It has amazing found family vibes and friendship dynamics, and then also the ending has this like Indiana Jones meets Hunger Games meets Tron. It was so freaking cool. And this is a perfect example of how making your writing inclusive is not hard. Our main character is trans, there are gay characters, there are non-binary characters, there are mute characters and deaf characters and people of all different skin tones. This book is the golden standard, no pun intended, of how to make a book inclusive. Like, there are all these writers who only write white characters, white able-bodied straight characters, who are like, oh, well, it's so hard to include other, and it's not. Like, it's really, really not. I'm blown away by this book. I can't wait for the sequel. And that is that on that. Okay, I feel like I gotta shake it out. I've just been yelling for an hour and a half. My neighbors did come home in the middle of this, and I think it was around when I was talking about Vampire Queen, so somebody got an earful out in the hallway. A couple days ago, I was filming TikToks and stuff, and unbeknownst to me, it was a fire inspection that day. So when I got a knock on my door with all my filming stuff set up, the guy that they sent saw my bookshelves and was just like in awe. And then he saw all my filming equipment and was like, are you a photographer? And I was like, yes. He's like 50, so I don't think that he had a TikTok or has a YouTube channel or anything, which is good because I don't want to get caught in a lie. Please leave down below what you read in September and if you read any of these things and you want to talk about them. Also, because October is Queer History Month, I have joined up with a couple of other book talkers and we are going to be doing a Read Queer History reading challenge. So I will leave the TikTok account down below that you can follow. There's gonna be a bingo card and prizes, and I like to say that we're all pretty cool, so why don't you come join us? Oh, and quick side note, people have been asking about my sleeve. I did go and get a couple of extra pieces and get this piece touched up. So it's coming more together now than it ever has, and I'm loving it. You know where to click to like the video. You know where to click to subscribe. I hope you guys are all having a nice day wherever you are, and I will see you all next week. Bye!